Okay, so the first thing we're going to do today is look at our learning target. We're still in place value. The target for this lesson is to understand that the value of a digit is 10 times as much as it represents to the right, and 1/10 of the digit that's represented to its left. And it's quite a wordy target, but we'll break it down so it seems a little bit and gets a little bit easier. I went ahead and started with this. This is a basic lesson in place value, which all the students pretty much already understand. But they learned back all the way back in second grade, maybe even a little bit before that, that I'm going to just take this away for a moment, that this is a unit. In order for this unit to become a rod, they learned that there had to be 10 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they realized that this 1 had to happen 10 times before it could go to the tens place and be a rod. Then they realized that in order for this rod to go into the hundreds place, there had to be 10 of these. So 10 of these, so 10 times 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So 10 times 10 gives us 100. And then they learned that 10 hundreds will make 1,000. 10, 20, so you can see how it kind of, sorry, it's three-dimensional, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000. So 10 of these made this. So early on, they've already understood. To get from the ones place, they had to multiply this by 10 to get this. 10 tens equals 100. 10 hundreds equal 1,000. So they understand that's why this is called base 10, because it's all based on tens. So if we take this, and now we go a little bit back to where we were, I set up a little place value mat. Here's my decimal. To the left, I've got my whole numbers. To the right, I've got my parts of a whole. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. And then to the right, it's tenths and hundredths. The kids already knew that if I broke this up into their values, this would be 200. This 2 is actually 20. I'm sorry, I have it 2,000, 200. In the tens place, it would be 20. And the ones place, it remains a 2. This is 2 tenths, and this is 2 hundredths. Now I started here. If I wanted my 2 to become 20, I would merely multiply by 10. If I want my 20 to become 200, again, I multiply by 10. If I want my 200 to become 2,000, I multiply by 10. Now if I go the opposite direction and I want my 2,000 to become 20, I divide by 10. If my 2,000 to become 200, I divide by 10. If I want my 200 to become 20, I divide by 10. If I want my 20 to become a 2, I divide by 10. So we could extend the same understanding here, even though it's decimals. It's the same thing. That's why it's called base 10. To go from one place value to the next, it's all either multiplying by tens or dividing by tens. The values of the digit grow by 10 or they decrease by 10. So that's the first thing to start off with. Then I explained to the kids that when we divide by tens or powers of tens, it can actually look like multiplying by a fraction. So I showed them if we're used to writing divide by 10, the new way Or another way that it can be written is actually multiplying by a fraction. We read this as 1/10 of. If I'm dividing by 100, it's the same as if I multiplied by 1/100. And we read this as 1/100 of. How would it do 1,000? It's the same thing as multiplying 1/1000. And I can read that as 1,000th. Sorry, this should be 1,000th of. They're also learning that this multiplication symbol is read as of. So that's a whole nother new piece too. So let's come over here and try and share the screen. So I've already recorded this down here. Here are some key symbols and words. Equals in words stands for is, so the equal symbol is. And again, if we're dividing by 10, we can also write it as times 1/10 or of 1/10. If I'm dividing by 100, I can write it as times 1/100th, and it would be written as of 1/100th. 1,000 times 1/1000th or of 1/1000th. So all we're really focusing on, if you want to go back to this page, all we're focusing on when we're comparing the values of a digit is simply that. We are comparing values. That's all we're basically doing today, comparing values only. That's all we're doing, comparing the value. So if we compare the values of a digit, and let's say we focused on the digit 3. The first thing to do is unpack it. Unpack, what does that mean? Well, I underline where there's a 3 in the number, and that is simply writing down what the value of each 3 is. So in this number, we've got 3,000, and we also have 30. You'll notice I'm ignoring all the other digits because I only want to find the value of the 3. I'm only finding the value of the 3. So right there off the bat, I have 3,000 and I have the number 30. Now I just want to say that even though I have create an equation as step number 2 and then write the matching sentence as step number 3, these can be intermingled. So if you prefer to write the sentence first and then the equation, that's fine. You can do that. If you prefer to write the equation first, then the matching sentence, that's fine too. So I personally prefer the equation first because it's easier for me to do. I know 3,000 simply equals 30 times 100. 3 times 1 is 3, and I've got 3 zeros. I can also write it the other way around where I'm taking my 30 and putting it on the other side of the equal sign. And then I know that for 30, it would have to be 3,000. It's the same thing. I'd have to divide it by 100. Okay. So if we look at this, remember up here, if I'm dividing by 100, how else can we write it? Well, in 5th grade, I would love to start seeing this. Easily interchanged. So I can also write it like this. Thirty equals 3,000 times 1/100th. These are the same thing. This and this is the same, just written a little bit differently. This is going to help us put it into words. So I often tell kids, whenever you see this, I want you to put this and times 1/100th. And if you see this, you can also write it as divide by 100. Those are the same exact things. This is new to you guys. So if we were to take these and write a matching sentence, so this is one way of comparing the digits. This is another way of comparing the digits. This is the way I want them to compare the digits. No longer do I really want to see this. I want to see this. So here's one way, two ways. Now we can write them in words. So let's put this one into words. Up here, we know the equal sign can be written as is. So we will say 3,000 is. Watch. 3,000 is. 3,000 is. And what is it? Well, it's 30 times greater, or 30 times as much as 100. I'm sorry, 100 times greater than 30. And you'll see how this matches. 100 times greater. So this is how it goes from numbers to words. And if I come down here, the fourth way I can compare values is now to come down here to this one. Now we're going to put it on the other side, the 30 on the other side. 30 is, and then we kind of do this when it goes, the way we read it is backwards from the way we have written it. And we would write 30 is 1/100th of 3,000. So let's break it down. 30 is, and we go backwards, 1/100th of 3,000. We're going to do a lot of practicing on this. Students need to be able to write it in numbers, a number sentence, and they need to be able to write it in words. It's just going to take a little practice, and we're going to do a lot of this. But the more you watch this, and the more you try and figure it out on your own as well, the easier it's going to become.